Hello and welcome to another episode of BTV. I'm Marcus Boston and I'm joined today with
Renee Boston.
And we are doing this podcast because we get a lot of questions. We get a lot of calls on divorce, and one of the main things that most people are thinking about when they are going through a divorce is what, Renee?
Really the process, and the biggest thing is step one. Are they ready for a divorce? If they are ready for the divorce, what do they need to do? What's the first thing they need to do?
And for our listeners today, when you get people and they call in and they're worried about these things, what is one of the main things that they need to think about when they are contemplating getting a divorce in Maryland?
Well, they first need to understand that Maryland is not like a lot of other states where if you decide tomorrow morning that if both parties decide tomorrow morning that they don't want to be married anymore, that they can just go down to the courthouse and file. Maryland is not like that. Many states have true no-fault divorce grounds where they actually can pick up. There's no need to just cite irreconcilable differences and just go down to the courthouse and file. But Maryland is not like that in the traditional sense. Maryland does have a no-fault grounds, which is a voluntary separation. But with the voluntary separation in Maryland, the parties have to be completely separated for a year from the marriage in order to file. Now, notice I didn't necessarily say living under separate houses per se. That does help. However, under certain circumstances, so long as the marriage has been irretrievably broken, no sexual relations for 12 months, and the parties are living separate and apart, then at that point they can consider filing for a voluntary separation. But a lot of people, the biggest issue they have is, she gets on my nerves, or I'm tired of dealing with him. What can I do? Can I do something immediately? What can I do? Can I file immediately? And to a certain extent, they can. And unless there's some other the fault grounds that apply in their situation, and then they possibly can. But each and every case is different, as well as each and every marriage is different. So you have to advise people to kind of take stock as to what is actually going on in their households before they can decide, number one, is now the right time to file? And number two, if so, what grounds, if any, would be basis for filing? Now,
I want to jump in real quick because you said about living separate and apart. And I know we have clients who, let me say it this way. If a person has an opportunity or has the ability to leave the household versus staying in the household, what do you generally advise? Or is that just something that you have to take from a case-by-case analysis?
You're right. It is a case-by-case analysis. Now, say, for instance, I don't know if everybody kind of are familiar with the Deion Sanders divorce situation. They lived in like a 10,000 plus square foot house. So they literally, even though they lived under the same roof technically, they both had their separate wings of the house, never saw each other, and lived under the same household while they were going through the divorce process. Now, if you live in a one-bedroom, 600 square foot, apartment, there's really no way you can actually live separate and apart under the same roof under that circumstance.
But what if they say, well, Miss Boston and we haven't had any intercourse, or does it when it's like that, you're kind of inviting the other side to be able to suggest that we have still, been dealing with each other when you're that close?
Because a defense to any grounds for divorce would be cohabitation. So if you're saying that, we're living in separate apart for X amount of time and we've had no sexual relations, well, if you're under the same roof and you're living pretty much in a small house, the other party can and probably will say, well, you know what, we had some hanky-panky going on X amount of time ago, so pretty much that's starting our clock over, so we're not ready yet.
Right.
So it's always best, you do take it as a case-by-case scenario, but it is always best if one can leave to leave.
Right.
But if there's a situation where there's any kind of definitely if there's any kind of fear of violence or retribution, you definitely want to give out or have a safe plan in place in case you have to leave under emergency type circumstances.
Right. Now, and we're just, this is just general information. Again, we will always stress to everyone that these cases are very, very fact specific. And the purpose of this podcast is to just kind of give you a general idea as to some of the things you need to be thinking about if you are on the other end of this and you're listening and you're wondering, should I go ahead and file? Or, I'm tired of this, or, the kids and I, we need to leave. And again, we really have to look at these cases as they come up and look at the facts as they go, throughout these cases.
So if you're listening to this, and if you or somebody male, female, whatever, are thinking about, well, you know what, I'm at my wit's end and I'm ready to leave, or I'm thinking about leaving, step one, you got to talk to a legal counsel of some sort to find out all your options, the pros and cons of each option, and any kind of effects your decisions would make on you, any children of the marriage, your spouse, or any kind of joint property or anything like that. So step one, if you're thinking about it, if you're listening to this, you need to talk to an attorney first and foremost. I'm not saying that you necessarily have to hire one, but at least speak to someone so that way you'll know kind of what you're dealing with before you do anything.
Well, what about some of these programs that people have that say you can do it yourself and this and that, and we're not really familiar with a lot of them, but I know there are a lot out here. Do you still suggest that these people really be careful when they're using these types of forms and things of that nature?
If you're going to use those forms, well, number one, don't. If you consult an attorney, if you and your spouse have an amicable breakup and you can sit down and talk to each other and decide who's getting what and who, what, when, where, why, sit down again and talk to somebody, and that person can help you guys draft up a proper legally binding document that could assist you in separating your property. Now, those online forms are, it's that sometimes they're filling the blank, or they don't really take a lot of things into consideration.
Right. Check boxes.
Exactly. Right, and it's not. And some people don't realize that when you try to take that in court or try to enforce it, it's worth pretty much like a roll of toilet paper because it's not legally binding. So always, I think whoever it is, if you're in a situation whether y'all are getting along or you're not, talk to a counsel first, talk to some attorney first, and whether if you need to both consult your own attorneys or you want to make an appointment and both of y'all go see one attorney, can kind of give you a general breakdown of the process. That may help, and that way you can decide whether you both need to hire an attorney or you can actually go at it alone, which will be if you want to file pro se in your case.
Right. Well, we're going to go ahead and wrap up this podcast. I see it's about 7, almost 8 minutes long. We went a little longer than what we had planned. But if you want more information from us regarding divorce in Maryland, how can they reach us, Renee?
Well, I say the best bet for those that are internet savvy like you guys are, if you're listening to us, is to send us an email at info@bostonlawllc.com, and that's info at bostonlawllc.com.
And also, you do have, for women, you do have a eBook, right, that they can request if they're a woman and they're going through this type of situation. You want to talk a little bit about that too?
Yeah, I'll just talk briefly about it. It's in the book. It kind of gives a general understanding for a woman who is going through the process or thinking about going through the process of a divorce, and whether she has children or not, or if there's marital property or not. But it kind of gives her some options as to what the process in general entails. Now, with this book, I will caution you, it's only an ebook. There's not a paperback or hard copy version, only because we found that the women who ask for it most often are ones in situations who can't go to the mailbox with the giant book in the mail from some attorney. Right. And they're living in the house with this man. So it is an ebook. It's available through email. If you don't have an email address, or your husband has a password to your email address, you can create just a dummy one just in order for you to get a copy of this book. So that way you have it, it's safe, you're safe, and you can take the time to review the information that is contained in it. And
again, it's a PDF download, so it'll work with pretty much any program. All right, well, that is it for BTV today and our family law divorce segment. And we will see you next time. I'm Marcus Boston.
And I'm Renee Boston.
And we'll talk with you later. Bye-bye. You have just listened to a podcast from the trial attorneys at Boston Law Group, LLC. For more information, you can reach us at 301-850-4832. And if you would like us to answer a question in one of our podcasts, send us an email at info@bostonlawllc.com. Thank you and have a great day.